So thank you for showing up again. And that's what Jesus wants from you this Lent. Just show up and let him in. It's day 10 into Lent, and simple mathematics tells us that if we take 10 out of 40, it means we have 30 more days to go. And if you have not started Lent, it's not too late. You can start now because your time starts now. It's better to have 5 days of Holy Lent than nothing. So let's jump straight into it. Last week, if you recall, we touched on a very important subject. That thought that runs through your mind a million times a day, that you're not good enough, you're never enough. And that you have to constantly, you constantly have to do more. And then the more you try to do, the more they move the goalpost. And then you never touch that line. Never, never, never. You just keep trying. And every time you fail, then you remind yourself again that, yeah, it's because I'm not good enough. And we saw that as one of the reasons why we also hide from God, because we just feel we're not good enough. We're not good enough. And if we're not good enough, he wouldn't want us. So we're also thinking we need to prove ourselves to him. But we ended last weekend's reflection by reminding ourselves that God does not expect us to prove ourselves like the devil tempted Jesus. He just wants us. That's all he wants. He wants us. And the whole of us. Everything of us. Everything about us. He wants us. And so today again, let's take a look at another thing that keeps us in the closet. And I'll call it today, like St. Augustine calls it, the restlessness of man. And to illustrate this point, I'd like to tell a story again. And this time is a story of an Olympic marathoner called Tammy. Tammy had been training for months, leading to years, just preparing for the Summer Olympics. And then finally the time came. And Tammy was getting ready to start the race. And she did. And she ran the race of her life, crossing the finish line, obviously exhausted, but just so relieved and happy that she won after years of sacrifice. As you'll expect, her family rushed in to celebrate with her. They hugged her, kissed her, telling her how proud they were of her. And as she was taking all of this in, the next thing they heard from her mouth, which shocked everyone, was, "When is the next race? When is the next race?" She wasn't even done with one yet. She wasn't even done with soaking in all of, all the achievements, all the fruits of the hard work. She wasn't done yet. But Tammy was already thinking of the next race. Have you noticed yourself in your own heart, how it keeps moving? It's restless, never satisfied, always searching for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. There's this quiet ache within us, and as is the case with Tammy, this ache, even with the best achievements, cannot be quietened. We just look for the next finish line. And we often hear that voice that says, if I succeed more, I'll be enough. If only I'm admired more, I will feel secure. If I accomplish the next big project, I'll finally feel at peace. But we know that's not true. Because at the end of the next big project, the heart keeps running and asking, what's the next thing? Brené Brown, who spent many years studying vulnerability and shame, tells us that the secret behind our restlessness is not even mere ambition like many of us think. Now, what drives our restlessness is not just ambition, but what drives our restlessness is about shame. According to Brené Brown, shame causes our restlessness because shame says to us I am not enough. And because I feel that sense that I'm not enough, what do? I run because I'm afraid that if I stand still, I will be seen. I'll be found out. If I stand still, someone is going to see me and finally discover that I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. So we keep running. We see an example of that in today's gospel reading. Jesus takes Peter, James, and John to the high mountain, and while they were there, Jesus was transfigured before them. He was radiant. They saw him in all his glory and his divine nature. And what was Peter's response? It will shock you, right? But that's the story of our lives. This was Peter's response to all of what he saw, the beauty he saw, what he never thought he would see in his whole lifetime. He saw God himself in his radiance, in his glory. Peter's response was, let's build 3 tents. What does that mean? Peter wanted to secure the moment. He wanted to control it. Peter wanted to preserve it. He wanted to make it last. He didn't want to lose it. And isn't that what we do with our restlessness? That like Peter, we find ourselves building tents of performance, perfectionism, people-pleasing. And we think that when we build these tents, they will act as a shield to protect us from judgment. But instead of them shielding us, what do? They exhaust us. We get tired. And beneath all of this is the fear that if they really knew me, I wouldn't be loved. And so I should be doing something. I should be building these tents. Maybe that will convince them that I'm good enough, or they will not be able to see through who I truly am. Isn't that the deeper restlessness? But one thing Peter forgot, and we often forget, is what we see in today's gospel reading. At the Transfiguration, something happened. And what was it? That's the biggest event in the Transfiguration. What made the Transfiguration what it is? And that is, the Father himself spoke. What did the Father say? He said, "This is my Son, the beloved." And then he added, "Listen to him." But I like the first part where he announces, "This is my Son," not just my Son, the one whom I love. And what do we take from that? That even before, and this happened even before Jesus began his ministry, before he performed any miracle. So before any performance, God was already naming Jesus before his performance. He's named before any kind of performance. And in baptism too, we have already been named. The reality is our restlessness flares up when we forget our identity. And because we forget our identity, what do? We try to earn what has already been given to us. We're already beloved sons and daughters of God. There's nothing else we can do to add to that. And that's perfect. It's 100%. But we think we need to do something before we can become beloved of God. But just go back to the Transfiguration story. Jesus had not done anything before the Father named him. So even before you came into this world, God had already named you, my beloved. You didn't need to do anything to earn it. It was a gift he gave. But I'd like to, switch gears a little bit by asking the question, the restlessness that we feel, could it be a signal? Or could it be a signal of something happening within? So instead of us feeling guilty that we feel restless, instead of us saying, what's wrong with me that I feel restless? What if we view our restlessness as a data? So it's giving us an information. Because like Brené Brown says, you cannot heal what you haven't named. So if you don't know what's wrong with you, when you go to the doctor, the first thing is he's trying to ascertain what's wrong with you. So what's the illness? It has to have a name. Then they can now talk about, you know, what does he need to do, or what medication to give you, you know, or what diet or whatever solutions he wants to prefer. But first thing is to name the problem. If we don't name the problem, how can we get healed from it? So could our restlessness be telling us something deeper than we know? Could we try asking the following questions? What is this longing telling me? This restlessness, what is it telling me? What is the fear underneath? What is it telling me? What am I striving about? Could it be God just gently saying to me, you are looking for belonging in places that cannot give it to you? You're looking for belonging in a place that cannot give it to you. I'd like to end my homily by reminding you, like Brené Brown says, that there's courage to be seen, and that courage to be seen is called vulnerability. And she says vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. The birthplace of connection is vulnerability. And so once again, like I did last weekend, I'd like to invite you again to a time of quiet time with God this week. Again, come back on Tuesday. Last Tuesday was great. When I came in at 9:15, there were 16 people sitting in the church just spending time with Jesus. They were gazing at him and he was looking at them back. And feeling loved by him under his gaze. Can I invite you this week? Please create time. Tuesday again, 4 to 10 p.m. Even if it's half an hour, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Because in adoration, guess what we do? We practice holy vulnerability. Because when we come in to spend time with Jesus, we stop performing, right? We sit not in the silence, but we sit still. There's a difference between the silence and stillness. When we come into adoration, it's a place of vulnerability, so we stop proving anything. We have nothing to prove in adoration before God. We just simply let ourselves be seen by him. Remember the Father's command when he announced his Son in today's gospel reading? What did he say? He said, listen to him. The Father didn't say to the disciples, hustle harder. You need to perfect yourself. Try harder. Or outrun your insecurity. No, he just simply said, listen. So rest comes when we stop striving to prove our worth, but instead we start receiving it. Our worth has already been given to us. We're already his beloved. So this week I'm challenging you to please receive what has been given to you in Christ, that you are sons and daughters of God. And only when we receive it, then do we actually let him into our lives. Then we're bold enough, we're courageous to let him in, knowing that we are more than enough. And knowing that it's not about the next race. We've already won the race in Christ. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you again next week.